We all know that heavy feeling. You wake up, the house is quiet, but your mind is already racing with a problem that feels entirely impossible to solve. You try to work your way out of it. You put in longer hours, you grind harder, you try to outthink the issue. But eventually, human effort hits a hard ceiling. Bob Bodine hit that exact ceiling. He's a top-tier executive recruiter, someone who finds leaders for Fortune 500 companies and professional sports teams. But even with all his experience, he found himself facing troubles he couldn't fix alone. When he needed a breakthrough, he didn't find it in a new management theory. He found it in a piece of advice from his mother, Martha. Martha shared a secret that combined quiet reflection with a series of very practical actions. She told him there was a specific way to gain clarity before taking a single step toward the problem. The secret starts with a physical requirement. Walk into your living room every morning and set up 2 chairs facing each other. Anchoring a spiritual practice to a physical object, like a piece of furniture, makes the process feel concrete. It turns the act of confronting an impossible problem into a simple, manageable appointment. Once the chairs are set, morning anxiety begins to shift into an intentional practice. Before you check your phone or look at the news, you set aside exactly 5 minutes for this appointment. You sit in one of the chairs and intentionally invite God to sit in the empty chair directly opposite you. In moments of trouble, we usually spend our time venting. This routine asks you to do the opposite. You state the situation, and then you sit in silence and listen. Replacing your own racing thoughts with a commitment to listen disrupts the cycle of morning anxiety. It creates the quiet space necessary to receive a perspective larger than your own. To help focus that listening time, Bodine uses a mental framework for bringing even the biggest crisis to the 2 chairs. First, does God know your situation? Answering yes establishes basic trust. Second, is it too hard for him to handle? Answering no adds the next foundation layer. Third, does he have a good plan for you? Answering yes locks the framework into place. We often rely on our own resume, our past wins and skills to solve problems, but this practice relies on what Bodine calls God's resume. It's an advantage that comes from consulting a track record that doesn't lose. Answering yes, no, and yes to these questions changes your posture. You move from reactive panic to a state of executive clarity, ready to hear the actual steps you need to take. This habit isn't designed to stop life's troubles from happening. Crises will still arrive, and some will be incredibly painful. However, because you found clarity at the chairs, you can now apply the 7 practical steps Bodine outlines for navigating adversity. You have an actual checklist to follow when life feels chaotic. This structured approach changes how you experience trouble. You find yourself walking courageously and even cheerfully through the crisis because you aren't guessing at the solution. That resilience naturally spreads. When you receive personal wisdom at the chairs, you become equipped to help other people navigate their own worst moments. This daily habit transforms you into a resource for your community. By strengthening your own foundation every morning, you become a steady hand for the people who need you most. Tomorrow morning, find a quiet spot before the day gets busy. Pull up an extra chair. Profound changes in our lives often begin with the simplest, smallest habits. Everything can change just by deciding to sit down and listen.